Well, here I am again. Which means it is time for another Boozy Bookworm review, and up for today is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. And because I got an overwhelmingly unanimous vote in my Instagram poll, I have very clearly already started drinking the bottle of wine this evening, which is Apothic Inferno. I would have to say it started out at like a 2.5 because it was very dark. But since I have already had a glass or two, I'm gonna give it a 3 because I like it more now. But anyway, let the games begin. In case you don't remember how the first Hunger Games ended, Katniss and Peeta both won, and so uprisings kind of started against the Capitol because they were like, if she and he can do it, then so can I. And so they started doing things. But Katniss and Peeta are back in District 12, and then all of a sudden President Snow is in District 12, and he's like, you see, Katniss, this is an issue because uprisings are not good for me. And she's like, yeah, no kidding. And so basically, President Snow's like, so I know your whole I'm in love with Peeta, I could never live without him thing was an act. And so I know you're actually in love with Gale. And so you're going to have to continue your charade forever because I will not let the people know that that was an act. It has to be real. That's the only way this can be okay. And so now she's like, oh shit, I have to marry Peeta now because... But that complicates things because Peeta was all like, what, you were pretending? Because he actually liked Katniss. He actually maybe like loved her. And so he's a little hurt that like she was pretending. And so their relationship has been kind of tense. As victors of the Hunger Games, they have to go on a victory tour to all of the districts. And so they go. And they're realizing that, oh my god, the little like... is like catching on and people are like using it as a sign of rebellion. So now people are getting like beaten by what are their names? It'll come to me. Ah yes, peacekeepers. They're getting like beaten down by peacekeepers or like killed on the spot because any sign of rebellion is no bueno. So they Katniss feels like crap because she's like, oh my god, I did this and I wasn't even trying to do this. I just really didn't want to die in the Hunger Games. But she did it. So then Peeta proposes to Katniss on live television, and they're all like, oh yay, love. And then President Snow's like, no, that's not enough. You gotta be better than that. And so Katniss is like, uh-huh. And then they get introduced to the new game maker dude, head game maker, who is Plutarch Heavensbee, which is quite a name. And he's like, yeah, what's up? Then there's this whole like BS with Gale and Katniss and Gale are in the woods and he's like, I love you. And she's like, ah, she's like, I just want to run away. Like, let's get out of here because uprisings are starting and things are getting a little, and she's like, let's just run away. And Gale's like, no, I want to stay and fight. And she's like, oh my god, you're ridiculous. So she goes to Peeta and Peeta's like, yeah, I'll run away with you. Like a sensible human being, kind of. And then they find Gale getting whipped in the center square and Katniss runs to stop it, which does not help the I'm in love with Peeta. And so then she's like, I'm in love with Gale, which again is kind of unfortunate because you're betrothed to Peeta. I just thought of something and I don't know if anyone else put this together. His name is Peeta and he's the son of a baker and there's a type of bread, pastry, whatever the hell, named Peeta? But did I mention that this year is a very special year for the Hunger Games? It is the 75th annual Hunger Games, which is pretty special. And so Plutarch Heavenbee decides to have a quarter quell, meaning that this year's applicants will be pulled from the victors of each district, which is great if you're districts 1 or 2. Not so great if you're District 12, because if we don't remember, prior to Katniss and Peeta winning, the only victor from District 12 was Haymitch. And so there are only 2 options for the male tribute. But there is only 1 tribute for District 12's female. And so Katniss, no matter what, has to go back into the Hunger Games with either Peeta or Haymitch. Katniss, Haymitch, and Peeta start training for, you wanna know what? I'm gonna do smaller glasses because I don't trust myself. Go figure, the drunk thinking gets the smart thinking. Katniss has a conversation with Haymitch saying, you need to go to the Hunger Games instead of Peeta. We need to save him. And he's like, Katniss, I'll do what I can. If his name is drawn, I'll volunteer. But if my name is drawn and he volunteers, I can't do anything about it. And she's like, that's all I ask. And then go figure, Haymitch's name is called and Peeta volunteers. So it is once again Peeta and Katniss in the 75th Annual Hunger Games. They meet some of the other tributes like Finnick Odair, who's like this hotshot sexy guy, and Johanna Mason, and she likes to be nudie all of the time, some of the time. Really once, but sometimes. They meet Wiress and Beetee and Mags, and there's some other tributes. President Snow decides that it would be a good idea for Katniss to wear a wedding dress to her televised interview. And then Cinna, her stylist from her first Hunger Games, alters her dress slightly so that when she spins, it does that whole fire thing again, and this time it transforms into a Mockingjay outfit. Yeah, and Cinna's gonna die for that. Anyway, this book doesn't waste much time on the training or anything and actually focuses on the games, which is something the first book didn't, if we keep in mind. But anyway, so games begin. Katniss wastes no time. She comes face to face with Finnick and she's like, ah, crap. And he's like, we're allies. And she's like, we haven't had this conversation, so I don't know how you could possibly think that. And then he has a bracelet that Haymitch gave him because it turns out they are allies. So she's like, okay, and yeah. Then it is just Katniss, Peeta, Finnick, and Mags, and they form a bit of an alliance, and they realize a lot of things. Like, for instance, that there's like an electromagnetic shield dome that encapsulates the entire island, and also that there's this like toxic nerve altering fog that will kill you, I guess. Because it's toxic. Katniss is fine. I don't know what's up with Peeta, but whatever. It comes down to the fact that Finnick can only save either Peeta or Mags, and so Mags runs straight into the fog, so that the decision is easy for Finnick. You save, obviously, Peeta. The beach that they are, it's a circle, is a clock face, and so at each little, like, sliver, a different terrible thing happens. The game makers should make 2020 an arena. And it is with that realization that Katniss realized that Plutarch Heavenbees, whatever the heck, actually tried to tip her off with the fact that the arena was a clock by his own watch that had a Mockingjay for just a split second in it somehow. I don't remember. But it was kind of, yeah, so that's suspicious. Some stuff happens. And Katniss is realizing that the other tributes that she has formed an alliance with, which includes the nudie lady Johanna, they're all trying to keep Peeta alive, which is curious to her because, like, yeah, like, she's doing the same. But also, like, why are they so dedicated to keeping Peeta alive, am I right? Katniss and Peeta have a really cute moment, and Peeta's like, you have to survive for your family. I don't really have one. Which, like, Peeta, yeah, you do. I'm, like, confused, but okay. Beetee, this old dude, is, like, really good with, like, smarts and stuff. And so he's like, hey, at 12 o'clock noon and midnight, all the time, lightning strikes. Basically, we can electrocute all of the tributes if we leave and do this. Now, it's time for their plan of electrocution to come to fruition. And Johanna hits Katniss over the head. Like, what? She assumes that the people were trying to kill her, and rightfully so, because he just got bashed in the head with a rock during the Hunger Games. And so then some things happen, and she takes her arrow and wraps a wire around it because, you know, she has a bow and arrow because, duh, she's Katniss. And so she shoots it into the electrical field and zaps things. Katniss passes out from electrocution. And then she wakes up only to find herself, Haymitch, Finnick, and Plutarch. Whatever his last name is. The game maker, the head game maker. She finds them and she's like, WTF. It turns out it was a whole setup. The whole thing was a setup. The whole Hunger Games was a setup that District 13, they're rescuing Katniss and they are the rebellion. Well, actually, Katniss is the rebellion. They like started, but like no one knew they started until Katniss started. So now they're like trying to like, that makes sense? If it doesn't, I don't know how to help you. To make matters worse, everyone tells Katniss the only reason they were keeping Peeta alive was because they knew that Katniss would be no use to them if Peeta died. But here's the thing. Peeta and Joanna were taken by the Capitol because they couldn't save everyone. And so Katniss was saved because she is the Mockingjay. So they saved Katniss where they could not save Peeta and Joanna. So Katniss attacks Haymitch because she gave him one instruction before the Hunger Games, which was to keep Peeta safe. And what did he do? He was like, oh yeah, sure, for sure, Katniss, for sure. Let's Peeta go into the Hunger Games, knowing full and well that there's a plan to save Katniss above all else, not Peeta. I still love Haymitch anyway. So Katniss comes to in District 13, and Gale tells her that the Capitol has been bombing the districts because she has incited riots in the districts, and District 12 no longer exists. And that is where the Hunger Games Catching Fire ends. So here is the breakdown. I almost spilled my wine. I was so excited. Cover design is a 5 out of 5 because this is the Mockingjay. It is the symbol of the rebellion. I love it. It is red and orangey because this is where shit starts catching fire. Also, it matches my eye makeup. Characters are a 5 out of 5. You have Katniss and Peeta and Haymitch, who you already know, and Gale. But you also have Finnick and Mags and Beetee and Wiress and so many others that are now new characters that are quirky and different and add something different to this story, and I love them for it. Plot is also a 5 out of 5 because this story is, again, same as Hunger Games. So original, like kids killing kids. That's all there is to it, except this time it's not so much just kids killing kids, it's like everyone killing kids and also adults. It's the Hunger Games. So ending is a 3 out of 5, mainly because I hate it. Peeta gets taken to the Capitol and Katniss is fine, but Katniss really isn't fine because Katniss realized she loves Peeta. She also loves Gale, but that's irrelevant. But she loves Peeta and he's gone to the Capitol, which is like the worst possible place to go and disappear to. And the book drop is a 4 out of 5. Because I guess the book drop is when you find out that the whole plot of the book was to get Katniss saved and that District 13 is a thing. So that is everything. Which means that Hunger Games Catching Fire gets a 4.4 out of 5. Like many other books, I feel like I do. I feel like it's always a 4.4 or 4.6. So I'm going to work on that, folks. But this is a good book. I guess it's because I don't read books that I don't like. Except for Lord of the Flies. I hated that book. Sorry. I'm not sorry. It sucked. Unpopular opinions. But anyway, thank you for watching The Boozy Bookworm. I hope you enjoyed this one. I don't know if I will continue reviewing books already half a bottle of wine through, but we'll find out if you guys like it better this way. And so that will determine what I do because I am impressionable by peer pressure. So I love you guys. Until Friday. Bye.